Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. So, listen up. I actually had an episode ready to go, written out. It's great. You're going to enjoy it. But I think that's going to be for next week because this week, there's been something going on that I've noticed. And so I'm like sort of doing this like old school, like just off the top of my head, because it's been in the forefront of my mind for the past couple of weeks as I've been talking to people. And literally as I was doing yoga this morning, it just hit me that, hey, you know what? I think I need to talk about this. And I'm guaranteed have mentioned parts of this throughout this whole podcast series, throughout a bunch of episodes, and sort of taking pieces from everything that I've said before and just, mixing it into one. So what this is about, I mean, obviously you see the title already. Be careful what you ask for because you might just get it. Or be careful what you wish for because you might just get it. And I mean, here's the thing. I know a lot of us don't necessarily understand how that works. Because you just think, well, what's wrong with me getting what I want? And inherently, depending on what it is, nothing. But if you don't ask for the correct thing, then you're not going to get the correct thing. And what I mean by that is there's a bunch of people out there, especially considering we're in January. And, the whole New Year's resolution and the whole idea of like, oh, you know what, this year I want to focus on blank. And there's a bunch of people out there that say, this year I want to focus on finding a relationship. This year I want a girlfriend. This year I want a boyfriend. This year I want a relationship. And I mean, listen, as far as goals go, that's a great one, especially if you're in the right mindset and if you're ready for it and everything else that I've talked about on this podcast. But see, here's the problem. It's the language that somebody uses. I want a boyfriend, or I want a girlfriend. I want a relationship. That doesn't exactly say with whom. And see, like, that's the problem. Let's backtrack for a second. And I want to explain sort of my idea when it comes to what you're asking for or what you're wishing for. This may have happened to you. And as far as I know, every single person that I've talked to have agreed that this has happened to them. So imagine like you and I just randomly hanging out one night. And I say like, oh, what's really funny? So-and-so, blah, 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 bought a Volkswagen Beetle. And then you think to yourself, you're like, a Volkswagen Beetle? I haven't seen a Volkswagen Beetle in forever. I mean, that's ridiculous, a Volkswagen Beetle. And then you leave that night. And, tomorrow's a new day. Get yourself ready. You're going to work. And all of a sudden, you see a Volkswagen Beetle. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. That's really odd. How is there a Volkswagen Beetle just over there? And then you go out for lunch and you see another Volkswagen Beetle. And you're thinking to yourself, that's very odd. How is it possible that there's another one there? And then on your way home, you see one parked on the side of the street and you're like, this is kind of weird. It's like the universe has an algorithm and it's listening. Well, I strongly disagree. Now, for those of you who have not purchased my book, joeyfrancis.com, you can find it on Amazon. There is a chapter in my book that specifically talks about this because for those of you who don't know me, I absolutely hate the word manifestation. I think people have it all wrong. I think people interpret it wrong. And because there's so many different opinions on what that word means, I figured out a new way of looking at life. And it's called focus. Focus on the things you want. tying back to the whole idea of New Year, I want a girlfriend, right? But when you put it in context of that whole Volkswagen Beetle thing, where if, talking about something with somebody and then all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere, well, it didn't just show up because you talked about it. It's always been there. They've always been around you. See, the problem is you haven't been focusing on them. So after having that conversation with somebody and bringing up Volkswagen Beetles, now all of a sudden it's like your mind is, prepped to see them. So now all of a sudden you see them all around you. The funny thing is yesterday when you weren't focusing on Volkswagen Beetles, they were there. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't just appear one day. They've always been there. And see, that's the way that I see life. That opportunities are surrounding us, okay, at all times. And it's what we focus on that we notice, that we see. So when you go out into the world and say to yourself, hey, I want this. If you're not asking the right question or you're not wishing for the right thing, then that thing is going to come to you and then you're going to realize, oh, wait a minute. This isn't what I wanted. And it's like, okay, well, now what? Well, now you sort of wasted a bunch of time and maybe you got hurt and maybe someone took advantage of you. So going into, like I was saying, people that are wishing for a boyfriend or a girlfriend, what ends up happening is that because you are so focused on finding somebody, your red flags and deal breakers, maybe some of them start getting a little blurry because you're so focused on, I want to find somebody. And now it's like, well, this person, she has a lot of qualities I'm looking for. This is amazing. She is so sweet and amazing to talk to. Yeah, maybe her values don't exactly align with mine. Maybe her beliefs are, sort of the opposite, but maybe we can accept each other. Communication and acceptance. Maybe we can accept each other and life can be amazing. I'm going to give this a shot. And it's like, okay. By all means, go right ahead. And then next thing you know, doesn't work. Now, I've told this story before. So back in the day, approximately, let's say like 13, 14, 15 years ago, I've mentioned it before that a lot of people would come to me for advice. So a girlfriend of mine, I'm pretty sure I've told this story maybe a few times. She's dating this guy. I mean, she always wanted to have a family and a husband, and that's what she was focused on. So she was dating this guy. The guy was absolutely incredible, amazing guy. And one day she calls me, and I'm doing the quick version. One day she calls me and it's like, hey, I'm not feeling this. I have a feeling he's going to propose to me, but there's something off about all of this. And I said, well, I mean, congratulations. That's great. But if it's not what you want, or if there's something missing, then you need to back off a bit. Okay. Well, she was like, all right, I'm going to think about that. Obviously didn't do it. Okay. So she gets married. Years go by, years and years and years and years go by. She has a family. And then out of nowhere, she calls me one night and she's like, hey. I'm like, hey, what's up? Is everything okay? Because she never really called me that late at night. And she's like, yeah, I'm just having a hard time with something. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Tell me, what's going on? And she's like, listen, I absolutely love my family. I love my husband, but I feel like there's something missing. And the way that she put it is that it's like when you go on vacation and you forgot something, but you don't know what. It's that feeling. And she was having that feeling. And she's like, I had that feeling before we got engaged. But then when we got engaged, there was planning the wedding. And there was like all this, excitement around the relationship. Then they got married. And then that feeling sort of started to creep back in. But then she got pregnant. So now there's all this excitement around having a kid. And then after having a kid, that feeling sort of started to creep back in again. But then she had another kid. So again, all the excitement was around that other kid. And now that she's done having kids and the kids are starting to grow, it's like that feeling just keeps coming back. And it's coming stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's like, listen, I get it. I mentioned to you back then, obviously you disregarded my, and here's the thing. When you want something that badly, like getting married and having a family, and maybe you don't put your feelings first and foremost. Maybe it is, I want someone who's going to take care of me. I want someone who's a good person. I want someone, obviously, who's going to like treat you right and all that other stuff too. But maybe like that spark, that thing that makes it really special, maybe that is not top of the list. Maybe that's further down the list. And it's like, okay, I get it. You really wanted to get married. You really wanted to have a family. And funny enough, this is exactly how people used to do things anyway. The internet didn't exist way back when. You only met people within a small radius. And it's like, okay, well, if this is the best that I can do, then this is the best that I can do. And that's what you did. And then funny enough, when you look at the divorce rates, maybe that's when people started going, oh, wait a minute, this isn't my person. And that's when, the divorce rates started like spiking. But who am I to say anything about that? But that's my point, though, is like you're focusing on the wrong thing. So even now, there is a bunch of people out there that are going out into the world and focusing on the wrong thing. There was something else I wanted to like lead into, and I don't remember. That's gonna be tough to figure out in the next like 2 minutes. But yeah, you have to be careful about what you wish for, because you might just get it. And this is where, to combat this, you have to have a very good idea of what you want. I've mentioned it again on this podcast many times about the blueprint, which I call the blueprint. And eventually that's going to end up being the name of the book because I say blueprint so often. But essentially it's knowing what you want, your person. And aside from the fact that first and foremost, you need to be happy with yourself before ever debating on putting yourself out there. That's number one. Number two is knowing exactly what you're ready for. And if you are able to be vulnerable with somebody, because that's another one that, I match with people and talk to them and they are so closed off. Like the moat around the castle is essentially the size of the Pacific Ocean. So there's that. And then there's number three, having a very good idea of what you want and what you're ready for. And I know that I've said this shit so many times, but I'm going to say it again anyways. First and foremost, this is what I want you to do. This is an exercise, okay? I want you to do this exercise. And it doesn't have to be done all at one shot. It doesn't have to be done at one shot. You can take your time with this. Nonetheless, I want you to write, like literally, pen and paper. Write it down. Even, I guess, notes on your computer is fine, or taking notes on your phone is fine. But literally, write it down. Starting every last little detail that you want in another human being. I don't care how absurd you think it is. If you want it, write it down. Imagine me being a genie, and not like the nice genie that's going to do what you want, like an asshole genie that's like going to try to find a loophole to screw with you. All right. You need to be ultra specific in what you want. Ultra specific. Okay. Now write every last little thing down. And obviously, like I said, it doesn't have to happen right away. You can take your time with this. In fact, I would rather you take your time with this and think about it. Be honest with yourself. And here's the thing. Take away the idea of being shallow. Take away the idea of being, what's the word? I don't remember. Either way. Superficial. That's the word. Take away the idea of being superficial and shallow. Take those ideas away. All right. What I want you to do, write it down, clean and clear. Nobody needs to see this. It's just for you. Okay. I don't care if you want someone with a small nose versus a big nose, or, big brown eyes versus big blue eyes, or whatever. Like, I don't care. If you're looking at someone, you're like, I'd really love to have somebody that has straight teeth. Or maybe I would really love to have someone that has straight-ish teeth, that have a little bit of character, and a big lower lip and a smaller top lip. And I don't care what it is. Whatever gets you going, write it all down. And then, here's the part, okay? What you need to do is start at the top of your list and ask yourself, this is after the list is done. Now, obviously, you can always add more to the list as you think and more things come to mind. But nonetheless, top of the list. First thing, ask yourself, if this person had everything else on this list except for this one thing, would I walk away? And if the answer is no, then take it off the list. If the answer is yes, then you leave it on the list and move to the next item. And if you do this for every single item on this list, and I mean, you have to be like 1000% objective. Like, this is a yes or no. There is no like, but if they had this, and this, maybe I can overlook this. Well, then it shouldn't be on your list. Only deal breakers, only red flags, non-negotiables. That's what this is. Okay? Because once you get through that list, now you have your boundaries. Now you have like the outline, the silhouette of a person that you want. And by having this written down, you also now have a blueprint. Ha 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 ha. But here's the thing. You have this blueprint. So when you go out and meet somebody and you start talking to them and you're like, okay, I don't want somebody who's very religious. Oh, they're very religious? Oops. See you later. Oh, I want kids. I want a family. Oh, you already have kids and don't want anymore? See you later. I want somebody who is not a vegan. Oh, you're a vegan? See you later. Right? Now, here's the thing. This is the beauty about having this list. It's only non-negotiables. That's the point of this. So when somebody comes around and say, for instance, I don't know, maybe they drink a little much. Maybe they smoke. And these are things that you did not put on your list. And they're like, yeah, I do smoke, but I'm trying to come back, blah, 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 whatever. And you remember what I said? Communication, acceptance. And acceptance is accepting the person as they are, as they stand in front of you. Not if they're like, oh, I know you don't want me to smoke, but I promise I'm going to quit. And then they never quit. As they stand in front of you, you accept them as they stand in front of you. But nonetheless, you don't have smoking on your list. You think to yourself, but if somebody had like a lot of great qualities, smoking probably wouldn't bother me. And a lot of those great qualities are your deal breakers. Well, hey, guess what? This person smokes now, and you're like, yeah, I don't really like the fact that he smokes, but he does have a lot of great things. This is something that you can bend on. This is something that you can negotiate with yourself because you have your list, because you have your non-negotiables. And you see, by having this, you are setting yourself up for success. You are, now granted, I understand, there's still chemistry. There's so many other things that are important when it comes to a relationship. But this is number one. This is going to stop you from saying to yourself, as this whole podcast started, saying to yourself, hey, I want a relationship. I want a girlfriend. I want a boyfriend. Because if you want something that bad, guess what you're going to do? You're going to sacrifice for it. You're going to eat the shit. That's what you're going to do. And we've all been there. Like, I know, the demographics of people that watch me is kind of all over the place. There are people in their mid to late 20s that do watch this. And hey, listen, if you're in your mid to late 20s and this is all like a learning experience for you, like something that you haven't dealt with in your life yet, take notes. And for those of you that are a little bit on the older side and understand life and have been through shit, remind yourself that you've been through shit. and that you don't want to be through more shit. Remind yourself. Because you've been there and you understand. You know what the consequences are of compromising on things that you shouldn't be compromising on, choosing the wrong person. And listen, I know there are so many people out there that are influencers. And again, I've talked about them too. I mean, including myself to some degree, but I know there's influencers out there that are like, oh my God, you're so worth so much and you should be doing this. Like, especially with like women that I see. And it's like, you're worth more than a coffee date. And you know, from my last episode, you're worth more than this and you're worth more than that. I have guys taking me to 5-star restaurants and blah, blah, blah this, and they're taking me on trips and blah, blah, blah that. And it's like, okay, let's go back with, be careful what you ask for. Because now if you're asking for somebody who's just going to take you to fancy restaurants and somebody that's going to take you on vacations, well, you know, it's the oldest profession in the world. But the thing is you're asking for it. You're the one that's asking for it because for some reason, somebody who actually just wants to get to know you and the venue and the places and all that shit doesn't really matter because they're trying to get to know you and hopefully you them. Because the funny thing is the majority of men, at least from what I've come across in my perception and the stories that I've heard from women and the men that I've even come across myself, that love to shower random women with gifts and dinners and vacations. They only want one thing. Now, is it always? No. Is it most of the time? Could be. I mean, I don't have the statistics in front of me. But from what I've heard and what I've seen, it's those people who are using, you know, their financial worth as their worth, and they're trying to get something from you. Okay. So be very careful if you're one of those people that says, oh, I want someone that does blank. Because again, what's more important to you? Somebody who takes you out to fancy restaurants and vacations, or somebody who treats you right and loves you and cares for you and protects you and all that other stuff? That's for you to decide. Same thing for men, you know, because there are a lot of idiots out there. And I apologize if you're one of those idiots that think, oh, she says that she wants this. And if I get her this, she's going to love me more. If you fall for that, that's your business. Okay. And if you want somebody, again, you want someone that pays attention to you. You want someone that, you know, gives you compliments and et cetera, because guys don't get a lot of that. Like the compliments. I mean, there's even that, I see this meme always pop up. I don't even know if you really consider it a meme that, but it said that the only time men receive flowers is at their funeral. And honestly, when you think about that, that's kind of sad. It is kind of sad. And then you go watch, like you just out of curiosity, you go online and you watch like videos of men receiving flowers and like how childlike they turn into. It's incredible. Anyways, this is part of like going off the rip. You know, I do wild tangents as opposed to having like a script in front of me. Yeah. But the thing is like, if you're looking for just someone who shows you attention versus somebody who truly likes you and loves you for the person that you are, you know, then you're getting what you asked for. Even if that means it hurts and it sucks and you get disrespected, you're getting what you asked for, right? Now, you might not be asking to get disrespected, but maybe that just comes along with the territory of, you know, I want someone who's going to show me attention. And this is a thought that I had. When it comes to, I'm going to say women because of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the whole online dating statistics that it's like a man has to like swipe 2,000 times to get like 10 matches to get 5 potential coffee dates, and out of those 5 potential coffee dates, it's like he'll go out with like 3 of them and be lucky if one will want a second date. And for women, it's not that case at all. But maybe, just maybe, this focusing on the wrong thing, maybe it will start to humble some women out there. And they might open up their horizons to men that they may have normally would look past. Now, I know that sort of contradicts with what I'm saying when it comes to the blueprint, but it really doesn't, because when you know your deal breakers, then you know what you can bend on, or you know what you can negotiate with. You know the things that probably won't bother you as much because you know the deal breaker. So, for instance, if you're truly asking yourself, because there's always the jokes that go around, I want a guy that's like 6'3" in finance, makes 6 figures, blah, 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 blah. And then you think to yourself, doesn't have to be 6'3". Okay, well, that's a start. Maybe by doing this list, you'll start looking at guys that are 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10", 5'9". I live in Canada, and in Canada, the average male height is 5'9". And the average women height is 5'3". Do you need a guy that's like 12 inches taller than you? Let's not make jokes, okay? Okay. But you know what I mean? They're taller than you. You want someone that's going to be taller than you while you're in heels? Well, if you're an extreme heel person, 5-inch heels plus 5'3", 5'8". So if a guy is 5'9", 5'10", he's going to be taller than you. And that should be sufficient. So if on your list, you're like, I want a guy who's taller than me when I wear heels. Well, guess what? Now you're open up to guys that are like 5'9", 5'10", all the way up past 6'3", versus where you just wanted 6'3" and above. So you've just opened up a huge chunk of potential people that you can date and go out with, etc., etc. Again, by having this blueprint. Because the blueprint isn't just about, the things that you want. It's also realizing the things that maybe aren't that important to you. Does a guy have to have 6 figures? Maybe it would be nice that you found a guy that's really wealthy and can take care of you and you don't have to work anymore. But then again, maybe that isn't exactly, what you really care about. And it's like, I just want a guy that does well for himself, takes care of himself, and that we can live a comfortable life together. Well, guess what? Now you opened up even more options. Because the thing is, if the majority of women, and again, this is going with that statistic when it comes to like the whole online dating thing, and I still believe in online dating despite it being hard for guys, because I think, putting in that much effort just goes to show you what you're actually ready for and what you want. But I digress. By having this blueprint, if the majority of women are going for literally under the top 1% of men, and it's less than 1%, because if you're talking like men that are 6 feet tall and are good looking and are single in a specific age range, blah, 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 that's less than 1% of North America, of the country, of the city you live in, whatever the case is, which means you're all competing for that, handful of men. But here's the thing. If those guys, and I even mentioned this before, if those guys have such an abundance, why are they going to settle down with you? Why are they going to give you the things that you want? Not even talking about money anymore, about love and affection and caring and loyalty. Because this question comes up a lot. Even the other way around, because obviously I have guys that message me and say, hey, listen, I'm talking to this girl. She's absolutely beautiful. She's all over Instagram. There's all kinds of guys that are messaging her or commenting on her pictures or sliding in her DMs or whatever the case is. And it's like, okay, well, I can't do anything for you. It's either it bothers you and you need to walk away, or you can sit her down and have a conversation about it and see if she'll stop, or you just shut up and take it. And I mean, that's your decision. And if you think that she's not going to be loyal because of all this attention, I don't know what to say to you. I'm a shitty dating coach. I don't know what to tell you. Like, find somebody better. Find somebody that aligns more with your values or your beliefs. That's why I keep saying values, beliefs, so important. And again, everything goes both ways. So, again, if specifically with women and the whole online dating and the statistics and everything, but yeah, if you have a blueprint and you start to realize that certain things aren't necessarily, a deal breaker, then maybe you'll end up opening up more options for yourself. And then on top of it all, because you want a relationship, and again, both men and women, because you want a relationship and opening up these specific options that you're thinking of, maybe you'll find somebody. Because the thing is the more options you have, and I know because people can't stand having more options with things, but the more options you have, the more real options you have, not like this fake bullshit options you have. The more real options you have, the better the chance of you finding something that suits you. And again, I know having a blueprint isn't enough. You still need chemistry. Having chemistry isn't enough. You need this and you need that. I get it. It's a culmination of everything, but starting off on the right foot gets you to where you need to go. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Not wasting your time, being efficient. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. So rather than, again, for those people that are so set on, I want a relationship, I want a girlfriend, I want a boyfriend, for those people, how about we change that narrative and not think, I want a boyfriend, I want a girlfriend. How about, I want to find the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, if that's what you're truly looking for. Or I want to find someone who's really cool that I can do fun things with. Because if that's what you want, that's okay. You're allowed to want whatever it is that you want. So if you just want to find someone to do cool shit with, then that's what you should be focused on. If you want to find someone that you want to do cool shit with and spend the rest of your life with, then that's what you should be focused on. I just think that terms like boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship are just too vague. They're not focused. See what I did there? They're not focused enough on the real thing that you're looking for. Unless all you do is want a girlfriend to do well with, who knows? But hey, if that's what you want, that's what you want. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. I think I might hit this again because I love repeating myself, because you guys don't like listening. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I wish you a fantastic weekend. If you do want to get into contact me, we can go to joeyfrancis.com. That's joeyfrances.com. And there you can find a little message box where you can write me a message and send it to me, or an email. Get in contact with me if you want me to coach you, or if you need help with your relationship. And you can also find the link to my books there. Fate is Bullshit, A Logical Guide to Happiness, and The Logic of Me, a guide to getting deeper with yourself, a guided journal to getting deeper with yourself. I honestly recommend that you read them both and do the guided journal, because it will help you focus, just like that chapter out of my book. Focus. So, with what I leave you today, focus on the things you truly want and align with. And I hope that they come to you. Till next time.